Okay. All right.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It is so good to be back on our program, Relationship and Marriage Hour, that is being brought to you by Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We are speaking today under the topic Communication, the Key to Happiness. We have on our show this afternoon Chaplain Nathalie Sweeting and yours truly, Dr. Marie McDonald. Dr. Alvin is not with us today, so we will carry on smartly until he comes on next week. Um, so we want to allow Dr. Chaplain Sweeting to just say hi to you, and we will get started.
Good evening, everybody.
Chaplain
Good
Sweeting?
evening. Hello. Good evening, everyone. I just pray that everybody's doing well today and are ready for an exciting show today. So we just welcome you from the Bahamas. We are from in Nassau, Bahamas. So we say welcome, welcome, welcome.
Yes. Thank you, Chaplain Sweeting. Okay, we're going to get started. As I've said, our topic is communication. And, one of the biggest, actually, it's not the biggest, but one of the biggest problem that one can face in a relationship is communication problems. And I'm saying that because I see communication, Chaplain, as we look at the door and the door is hung on a hinges. If there are no
Yes.
hinges, the door cannot swing. I see communication in marriage in like manner. Communication being the hinge that trust, understanding, intimacy, and conflict resolution, they all hang on communication. Without communication in a relationship, our marriage will go through a number of problems, or it can die on you. But
Yes.
one of the things we want to see is that relationship thrive. So, in order for your relationship to thrive and for you to enjoy your relationship, there has to be communication. And Chaplain Sweden, I want to just go right here and talk about when I got married. My husband is a man of few words. So I believe I've shared this before. So when he would come around before we got married, he wouldn't talk much. But you know what? We spent hours on the phone, Chaplain Sweden. We spent hours on the
Yes.
phone.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
There were times we don't know what to say or talk. Whenever we finish talking, we go quiet. Then there's the period of, okay, I'll see you later. I love you and all of this. And then you hear, I'll say to him, okay, we see you later, but nobody's moving. So I say, okay, you hang up
Yes.
first.
Yes.
And you say, you
Yes.
hang up. All of that period. But tell me, how is it we move from there and we get into marriage and then the conversation becomes few words. So for me, one of the things that I did to get him to talking is I would always ask questions because
Okay.
he was not the initiator. He would never initiate the conversation. So I would initiate and I would ask, well, what about this? Or what about that? Or how do you feel
Yeah.
about this? And all that was just to get him into talking. And then one day he said to me, you always asking me questions. You can't just talk. I say, yeah, I could talk, but if you would talk, I would talk. So communication is a two-way street. It's
Yes.
both
Yes.
ways, you know. So what is your views, Chaplain Sweeten, on a relationship that lacks communication? How can they
Yeah.
help to, spark the communication in that relationship? Mhm.
Well, what my view on communication and in a relationship is to find a neutral ground. Something what he likes, something what you likes, and start to talk about it. Now, my husband is all about sports, right? And I am also about sports, but most sports for me is basketball. But he like all sport. So that communication, if we are not talking as much. What we normally do is we start talking about basketball, and everybody, like, it's like the silence just break. So if you could find that neutral ground, what both of y'all excited about, and just start talking. It don't have to even be much. It could just be even as simple as a plate of food. It could be as simple as something what happened on your job or his job, or what happened right around you. And once you break it, then the person will just start opening up, and that them words will just start flowing and flowing. So that's my point of view on, communicating. Because sometimes it do get quiet.
Okay. That, I love that. I love that because that's another way. And what if the person doesn't have a favorite sport? I never thought about using sports at that time. Now I
Mhm.
think about it. But at that time, I never thought about sports because I'm not a sports lover. So
But you
automatically, I
love,
never went to the sports. But
okay.
mhm,
But it's anything. It
go
don't have
ahead.
to be. I use sports because both of us like basketball. Now, when we start talking about basketball, it flows. Even if we have a
Mhm.
disagreement on something else, and we start talking about basketball, we both of us is forget about that disagreement. So it don't have to be sports. It could be anything. You're a teacher. Maybe you could start saying something about maybe one of the subjects in school. Maybe something would happen in school, just start talking
Mhm.
about it. But if you just asking him,
That's what I use now. Hmm.
yes, okay. But if you just ask questions, all he can do is answer your question, or all she can do is just answer your question. But if y'all find a neutral ground with y'all two like, start, and that could break a lot of ice. That could break a lot of disagreement, so yes. So that's what we normally do. Now it's all star night, this weekend. So last
We're having an
night,
internet.
yes. Okay. So last night, what happened was we were watching the shootout, the 3-point competition for the NBA, and all we were doing was just counting how much shots they made. And so that was really breaking up
Hmm.
of the grounds with the quietness. So that's how we communicate. But you can find any neutral thing, what's going on, and just talk about it. Even what's going on in your country. We just had, at least they just had an election in the United States. And so even in the United States, persons are still talking about what's happening, and the different laws and all of those things. Just find something what y'all could communicate with and just talk about it. Okay, Dr. Marie?
I like that, Chaplain. I like that. Yes, and that is something that definitely will get a conversation going. But then beyond that, that's where if that person doesn't gravitate to what you're saying, you're left there with that conversation not going anywhere. But we need to communicate, and couples need to communicate because it helps to solve a lot of problem. It also can
Yes,
build trust.
yes,
It can cause communication to improve because when you build that trust, you then can talk anything, you can share anything with your spouse because you now
yes,
trust them. It can also resolve conflict. When you talk, uh, you're better able to understand and address your disagreements and find solution that will work for both of you. But if there is no conversation and you're huffing and he's puffing, it will always be unresolved conflict. So that is how
Yes.
important it is for communication. Then, when we look at it, we also have emotional intelligence, Chaplain Sweeting, where we can connect and it will deepen our emotional intimacy with our spouse,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
This is how important communication is. And it also helps us in understanding each other better or understanding each other's need. And we are able to address them and gain greater satisfaction. So it is no wonder then we see so many problems in marriage with the lack of communication. That's
Yes.
how
I agree.
communication is. Because if you have a problem and you're not solving the problem, you will always have that problem. So problem is not something that goes away. And I think we tend to feel if we don't talk about it, it will just vanish. No, it doesn't go away.
No.
It stays in the back of our minds until we address it. And once we address it, then we can move on. So
Yeah.
that is how communication is so important. Chaplain Sweeten, before I release it to you, I actually want to share with our audience something I just found out that a recent communication is important, and I want to just share this with the audience. It
Okay.
says that number one, communication, it avoids and combat misunderstanding. Number two, communication garners respect. Number three, it builds trust. Four, there's no need to keep guessing because you are communicating. Five, communication is a time saver. Rather than trying to figure out something, it's a time saver. And six, it understands yourself. Number seven, it enhances marital satisfaction. Eight, it communication causes you to grow together. And it also helps you to learn new things together. And it
Yeah.
also is a health benefit, number 10. And if it's for any reason why we should communicate, it should be because it's a health benefit. Chaplain
I
Sweeten, how do
agree.
you think then? How do you
Okay.
think that communication being a health, how do you think um, it will benefit us health wise?
Okay. First, let me just speak about the misunderstanding. Many times non-communication, with each other, have misunderstanding. You thinking that, okay, this person, maybe they're not talking because they're mad. Maybe they're not talking because something what you did. You don't know exactly what it is. But when y'all start to talk, then you realize that, oh, that was not so, and
Yeah.
that even right there is healthy.
Hmm.
It's very healthy in a relationship right there. But
Yeah.
yes, even with health wise, because sometimes they might not be talking because maybe they have a headache.
Hmm.
Maybe something on them is hurting. And that's why they're not talking. But when you start to talk and start to open up
Wow.
that conversation, you can realize that this person is going through something because they're in pain.
Hmm.
And a lot of times, even with my husband, you know, sometimes I'll say, honey, why you look mad? But he say, I'm not mad, but
Hmm.
just the look on his face make me feel like that he's mad. And then when we start to talk, then I'll realize that, okay, it's not that like that. Or he'll say, well, my back is hurting me. And then I'll realize, okay, that's why he's not talking because his back is hurting him. But health wise, it's good to release. And so when you communicate, that means you're releasing, you're releasing some of that, whatever you have built up in there, or whatever is built up between you and your spouse. So that there is a good way to even be healthy.
Chaplain Sweeting, that's good, because we tend to read people wrongly. I like that, because in relationships, sometimes you see your spouse may be quiet, you don't know what they're going through, and sometimes we always think we know. Oh,
Yeah.
he may be mad because of this, she's angry because of that. No, it only takes a simple, "Are you all right? What is happening? You don't look well," rather than think that we know it and begin accusing. And I think those are some of the things that causes conflict in relationship. We cannot assume,
Yes,
I
I
know why
totally
she mad.
agree.
She's angry because she's angry because I didn't give her any money or I didn't do this. No, find out why your spouse doesn't look as though she's well or he's well. And do not assume. When we assume, we cause problems. Ask the
Yeah.
question. And then, you know, wise. If we hold things, Chaplain, if we hold things in our hearts, and especially when we look at unforgiveness and how detrimental that is to one's health, it's understandable why we see health benefit being one number 10, because you may think, you may misunderstand your spouse. As a result, you're angry, you're bitter. Okay, he don't talk to me, I don't have to talk to him. And we can get in our feelings, right?
Oh,
So
yes.
if we get in our feelings and we assume he's upset, like you said with your husband, he looked as though he was mad, angry, and all you did was ask the question. What if you didn't ask the question and
Yeah.
you act like? So it's always good to talk. Communication, that's what it will do. It will bring clarity. It will bring out what is really happening. We can't just go
Yes.
to the person's face, Chaplain. Sometimes if you look at me and I'm not smiling, she's mad. What's wrong with her? And it's not so. Sometimes you're in deep thoughts,
Thoughts.
and
Yes, that's true.
it shows on your face, but it come across as though you're mad.
Yes.
Communication prevents all of these things, Chaplain. All of these misunderstanding. Communication clears it up.
Yes.
And
It's very, very much.
yes, and there's no need to hold anything in your heart against your spouse. But I want to flip over a bit, Chaplain Sweden. Sometimes we feel our spouse are not, I don't want to say educated, because wise, that's the word I would use. We may feel that our spouse is not wise enough to understand what you may be going through, or understand what you may have happening to you on your job or wherever, right? So as a result, you will not share with your spouse. Your spouse knows something is wrong, and I've seen this happen. Your spouse is
Yeah.
aware that something is wrong, but because you think they're not wise enough, you then go and you look for someone outside of the home to share your problem with. This will cause a breakdown in
And
relationship.
that could be, yes. Yes. Especially if the person is not for your spouse, you know. Yes. Yes,
Yes.
that, yeah, I see that that will cause a breakup in a relationship, if especially if the person, you know, just go to one way, go to one area. Maybe the person it's on the side of the wife or on the side of the husband, and when you go to them and they start giving you advice, the advice might not be, to bring you together. The advice what you get from outside might cause you to separate. So you have to
Mm,
be very careful who you communicate with. You know,
yes.
I remember when me and my husband first got together, and my sister said, she'd come to me and she said, uh, um, we call my husband Jerry, right? His name is Jeremiah. And she said, I don't know why Jerry always doing everything for you. Why? Well, everything you want, he give it to you. Every time you want, doing something, just giving you, he's spoiling you. And I told her, I said, honey, I love you a lot. You're my sister and I love you a lot, but don't interfere with my marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Don't interfere with my marriage because what she wasn't saying it to him, she was saying it to me. But I let her know, stop that right there before that even go on to him. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, that is powerful. And Earl is saying this is needed. I totally agree because we have people that can interfere in our relationship because
Yeah.
they understand, or one of the spouse can take what should be discussed between husband and wife or between the two partners and take it to someone from the outside to share in that relationship or to share with them. And that can be detrimental because when that person share, they're sharing from their experience, but it may not be
Yeah.
relevant or good enough for what you're going through. So that is why we have to be careful when we talk about sharing outside of the home with someone who we feel is wiser. But we have to share inwardly. You know, so we totally acknowledge Earl's comment on that he agrees with us. And I'm going to ask him, Earl, why don't you share your thought in the conversation with us and share your thought with us on how we need to speak to one another as opposed to taking it to someone outside of the relationship to heal or to help the person. I want you to join in, and you can send us your WhatsApp, and it's by telephone 437-778-3299. Share your thoughts with us, Earl, and let us know how do you feel and how would you handle a situation where one spouse is taking conversation outside of the relationship to receive advice. Usually, it should come from within. And when it's beyond both of you, then you can look outside that relationship, Chaplain
Yeah.
Sweeting. And that should be done
Yeah.
together. That should be done
I
together.
saw someone posted, said, speak the truth.
Mhm.
Always be open. Always, speak what the truth. Let your spouse know that this, and not because whenever um some lies or anything come in there, that break the trust. And you don't want to break a trust in your relationship because trust is hard to get back. It's very hard, and
Yes.
sometimes it take years, but never come back. You know, so you should always be open and just say what is the truth. There
Hmm.
is place for forgiveness. And so if you
Mm.
speak the truth with your spouse, and there's always place for forgiveness.
Hmm.
But yes, and with my relationship with my husband also, right? I am a fanatic for God, so a lot of stuff is God say, and I am so confident with Him that He trusts me enough to know that whatever it is that we're talking about, that's what God is telling us, to do, and that there is plays a big part in our relationship. Because whatever it is, we say that God say. If He come to me and say, honey, God say this or God say that, and a lot of times we do that because we really depend on God to build up our relationship, to keep that going. And
Hmm.
so
Thank you, Chaplain. I agree with you in that regard. We have to be honest with each other. Uh, you know, when you love a person, when you love a person, and you okay, we have a comment from Earl Sorrell. Thank you,
yes,
Earl. He said, some people, instead of asking, What are you doing to
Yeah.
get this good treatment? They bring their negative results in their life and miss the opportunity to get help to improve their situation. That's
Yeah.
so true.
Very good.
So true. Chaplain Sweet, maybe you want to comment on that.
Yes, because
The fact that your sister said, yes,
yes, because some persons in their marriage is not good. And so, things are not getting on the way a peaceful marriage should be. And so they'll give you all kind of negative, oh, this happened to me before, and so you cannot trust the person, but you don't take in the negative. So you, like I said again, you have to be very, very careful who it is that you're talking to. You have to know that person, know how that person feel about you and your husband, and or your wife, or your spouse. Let me say spouse. You have to know how that person feel about your marriage, that they want what is best for you. Because everybody don't want to see you succeed. So you have to be very careful who it is you're communicating with, who it is you're carrying, because really you carrying your business, your marital business out into a next place. You're taking it out of the home into a next place. So you have to be very careful who it is, you're talking to.
Chaplain Sweeten, I would simply say sometimes advice that you didn't ask for. And as cold as it may seem, sometimes we have to simply tell them, thank you so much, but we prefer to
But
work this out
yes,
between both of us. Because he may not have a problem with what he's doing for you, but because they are not getting what you're getting, then they would
yes,
bring their advice and they would sometimes cause problems. So, in a nice way, sometimes it's always good for us to let them know, look, we have no problem resolving, our issues. Thank you. So we will get it right. And Terrell is saying you should seek
see,
professional help. And
no,
it's true. But, after you would have sought and done it together, thank you, Terrell. After you would have resolved the problem together or try to resolve it, and if it doesn't work, then you can
then
take it
you
out
go,
and get
yeah.
professional help. But
Mhm.
is you're doing it together. One of the things I always say, people, actually, this is more so for younger people, they would seek advice from their friends who may not have any kind of experience. They can only speak from a theoretical point of view. And if you take, even from an adult, if you take advice that are only theoretical, you've not gone through it, you don't know what it is, you are setting yourself up for a
A
fall.
failure.
So it's always good to work it out together. And when you can't work it together, seek professional help to try to
Yes,
resolve a
yes.
situation.
But what we
Yeah.
should do is we should
So,
try first. Try to work it out first before you go out and and get professional help. But try in your home first and see if whatever. Like I say, find that neutral ground that you and him could communicate. Even if you start out communicating with something, right? Even if you start out communicating with just a small thing, and then bring in the big thing, what the big conversation, the big problem, just ease it in,
mhm,
so
right. Well, if it's a disagreement, Chaplain, if it's a disagreement, that's what, and you know what? This is the beauty of communication. If there
yes,
is a disagreement and it has to be resolved, the best thing for you to do is sit down and communicate. He talks why he feels it should be done his way. And then you just look at the pros and cons of doing it his way. And then we look at the other person and you see what she says. And you look at the pros and cons and see whether it's going to work. Oftentimes in relationship, this is rarely done because
Really?
and that's just human, that's just as human. Everyone wants to know that what I'm saying is right or what I am about to do is right. We're not always right. And sometimes when I realize I'm doing something and I'm wrong, you can't tell me I'm wrong prior to finding out I'm wrong. I feel that this is the best way to go. We got to go this way. And when we stop and we look at the pros and cons, then we can understand, okay, you're right. And we should be humble enough to say, yes, you're right. Let's take it your way. These are things that creates big problem in relationship, Chaplain Sweeting, because we all think we are right.
Yes,
We all think we know it. And sometimes, and that's when it has, even in the business world, when there's any big conflict, they have to bring in an arbitrator, they have to bring in someone to help because there's
yes,
a gridlock and you can't go beyond or you can't figure it out or you don't want to side to say, you don't want the other person to say you taking, your side off. So you bring someone in the middle. And that's
yes,
when we need to
true.
have someone, and usually it's a mentor, someone who mentors persons or a specialist, a professional,
Yes, yes, yes,
knows
like,
how
yeah, professional.
to have a
Uh-huh.
solution, you know. But
And even sometimes when y'all have a disagreement that one person is right and the other person is wrong, and sometimes for peace in your relationship, sometimes you just have to say okay, and eventually that person will realize that something, I was wrong. So let me just go back to him or let me go back to her and just say that I was wrong, because sometimes the other person, your idea is right, but you just humble yourself and say, let them have that part of it, and eventually you'll come back and they'll say, something, I was wrong. They might not say it right away, but eventually they'll say it. Okay.
mhm. Okay, Earl is saying that normally disagreement are based on outside influence. Taking
Yes.
advice from others
Taking advice from
that have
others.
no relationship, lonely and miserable, are the key problems in marriage and dating. And that is
Yeah.
true. When you take it, and that is what happens when you take advice from the outside. You and your partner knows exactly what you want. I agree with you, Earl. You and your
Yes.
partner
Okay.
knows what you want, and that would have come in from when you first started dating or when you got married. You would have or should have set some goals. This is what we want to achieve in our relationship. This is where we want to go in our relationship. So anything that deviates from that, it means then there must be some outside influence that is bringing that on because you already set your goal that this is what we want in our relationship. So why then are you changing? And if there are any change, that change should come between the both of you. Okay, we said this is what we,
Yes.
but now we may have to deviate from this because that is happening or we cannot reach that goal right now. You know, and, and that is
I
what I
see
agree with.
it.
I
That's
agree
so
with you.
true. Yes, Terrell, that
To
is
really
so true. Let them stay
Terrell
out
is
of it. Mhm.
keep family out of your marriage. I agree. And then we got some close friends too, Terrell. We got some close friends that feels that they
Yes.
should speak about our relationship, but do they know what our plans are? You know, they don't know what our plans are. So we cannot, Chaplain Sweeten, allow persons to cause us to deviate from our plans, our goals that we want
No,
to achieve.
no, no.
Yeah.
And even sometimes in our marriage, to break the ice, what we do? We go back to when we first met, in that dating stage, we go back to, and we start just talking about what happened when we first met. And you know how, and even Dr. Marie, as you said, that on the phone, it's always, you're always on the phone. Me and my husband used to work together. That's where we met. Used to work together, and soon as we to work all day. Soon as we reach home, we on the phone again. So my niece will come in there and say, "Can you all work together? Y'all just leave each other. Why y'all on the phone again?" So going back, and bringing back memories of good memories can help also to break that ice.
Yes,
So
yes.
yes, keep family out.
And
Yes,
she's
Terrell, we hear
reiterating that
you.
we keep families out of our marriage. I agree, Terrell. I agree. Because
Yes,
while there may be some good advice, the advice may still not be what is in relation to your plans. While their
yes,
advice may be good, it may not be your plans. So that is why you and your spouse, the both of you, must do it together. If
yes,
if family wants to speak, you can't stop them from speaking. But I can tell you, you sure can keep them the advice what you're looking for. So I say to our listening audience, you're listening to the Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio out of Canada, the number one African Caribbean diaspora online radio, which is on 24/7. Please join us
mm,
in the conversation and send in your WhatsApp. We're receiving responses from persons out there. We thank you. And I want you to share your thought and let us know what you think about communication, its importance in marriage. And we know that it is extremely important. It is extremely important. So we have to keep communicating. Know your goals, know your plans, and do not deviate. If you get a good plan or you hear something from somebody else and you want to look at it, both of you look at it together. You know what is some of the things,
together.
Chaplain, that causes relationship breakup? When you get an advice from someone out there and you bring it and now you change the whole plans that you and your spouse
Yes,
would have had. You
mhm,
didn't say to your plan, look, this one said this to me, this is what we should do, and you run with it. And
yes.
the other party, the other spouse knows that this is not our plan.
This is
We
not
had
what we
planned
said.
that we want to
Mhm.
build a triplex. Now you're saying, someone say it's fine to just build a single story. That was never our plan. So I say to our listening audience, I say to our friends out there that are taking advice from outside, sit down with your partner, sit down with your spouse, talk over anything that you want to see change, but do not let it be from the outside. The chaplain speaking, do not let it be from the outside
No, no,
influence that cause you your plans.
no. And also, Dr. Marie, for the persons, those who are dating now, sit down together, set goals, set timely goals, set a year goal, set 3 years goal, 5 years goal, 10 years goal. Set it, set goals that you can have something to work towards. You don't want to go in blind, because when you set these goals, both of you all together will say, okay, we're going to work for this. And then if you deviate from what goals you have set, the next person right there, they'll remind you. You remember we said we will do this, we will do that. Let's get back on track, because things do happen in our lives that cause us to be able to switch sometimes, or even maybe come off that road and and go on the next road. But to get you back there, you all already set goals before, so you all have something to work with. But if you just go in blindly, and you won't have nothing to go back to.
Mhm. Communication is extremely important in a marriage, extremely important. And, especially in new marriages, it is said that marriages if there's going to be a divorce, it will happen within the first 5 years of that relationship. Now, in the early stage, and right now, the rate of divorce, Chaplain Sweeting, is extremely high. I was
Yes,
looking at the
very much.
divorce rate for 2020, and right, and the divorce rate is showing it's a 2.4 divorce
Wow.
to 1,000. I don't know how calculated. That was a few of the states, anyhow.
Mm-hmm.
But with divorce rate being high on the early relationship, what one would suggest for these new persons that are newly married couples within the first 5 years is that they sit down among themselves, and there has to always be communication. Talk about
Yeah.
everything, share everything together. And this is what I love when I see we had a young couple on and they spoke about their lives, the plans, and what they would put into motion as they discover or go through it. And the same is with relationship. If you communicate about everything and you give yourself no grounds, Chaplain Sweden, to hide anything from each other. So you talk about everything,
Yes, yes.
you
Speak
share
the truth.
everything, and you
Mm-hmm.
keep yeah, and you keep everyone out of your relationship when it comes to your private affairs. Keep everyone else out because everyone has an opinion and everyone's
It
opinion
might
is
not
good,
be the right one,
but everyone's
not be
opinion
the
is
right
not
one.
good. It's not good.
Yes,
That's right. It's not good enough
yes,
for your relationship because you already have your own plan out. So, Chaplain Sweeting,
yes. Totally.
you, it's not good to take advice out from everybody. You know.
No, no, no. But planning means so much. Planning means so much when you first starting out. Planning means so much. And as you go each step in your marriage, you talk, talk. Even if sometimes it's unbearing. I know right now, even gasoline is very expensive now, but you go walking together, or even go riding. Maybe just go riding. Most of the time, me and my husband will go on the beach. We'll ride on the beach and sit in the car. Sometimes what we used to do a lot is we'll go and pick up some food and carry it on the beach and sit in the car and eat it, you know. But yes, I do, Terrell, I do agree. God must be the head of our marriage. Must be, and so put God first. Put him first
Um,
and listen.
Chaplain Sweden, Chaplain Sweden, this is the love month. We just celebrated Valentine on Friday, the love month. So this is how important communication is, because if we say we love our spouse, we have our own love languages. It has to be communicated. It has to be
Yes,
communicated. So the fact that we love this person, when you love someone, you will share everything. There should be no
yes,
place in that relationship for mistrust, unless you would have had some reason to mistrust your spouse. And by now, you should get together and work that mistrust out. You just don't leave things because you allow it so that it can fester. You resolve any conflict quickly. You resolve it quickly
yes,
because
yes. I agree.
I could understand if Valentine comes around and there's no chocolate, there's no flowers, you know, because you're not together, right? So early on, Earl has an advice. Let's
Yeah.
hear what he says. He say, here is something people can do. Give you advice. He asks them to back up their advice with money, $20 or more, to prove that their advice will help, and see how much advice see how much advice you will get. Unsolicited advice should come with a price, because normally when you use unsolicited advice, it normally costs you something special and important in your marriage or relationship.
In your
Now that's
relationship.
wisdom.
Yes. Mhm.
I like
Yes.
that, Earl. I like that. I like that
Need,
because
females need
he's saying that
conversation.
everyone that brings up Earl, you know what? I will not charge $20. I will take it above $20.
I
$50.
that's
If you
right.
want to
When I
give me
first looked,
advice,
I thought it was about $200 on there.
yeah,
Yes, yes,
$50.
yes.
$50.
That
But that's how important your relationship is. And you need to keep people out of your relationship. It's just that simple. You hear them, but you don't have to take the advice. If it's not in line with what you and your spouse is doing or wish to achieve, then you thank that person and you keep moving on. That's
yes,
the best way to put it. You know,
very much
give or take, there are some good advice, and those you can put aside. But if it's not in
apply.
relation to what you want to do, it's not good for this time. That's just the bottom line.
No.
You know. Uh, I heard our next commentate a person that is commenting said that women need to talk. I agree with you. Women, we talk so much more than men. Chaplain Sweeting, we talk a lot,
Oh yeah, we yes,
and
yes.
some let me see. I heard that some say some of us, yes, some of us do
Correct.
talk much,
Yeah.
some do not, right? But the thing is, we function different from the men. We function different. Um, men tend to talk less. Women always want to know why, how it can be done, when it can be done. We always take it the extra mile because it has to make sense. So
Yeah.
for the man, you tell him once, and he didn't get that from A to Z sometimes, and he didn't figure out what he's going to do. But we need to hear it. So that's why women talk a little bit more. So we need to, men sometimes
In
indulge us something. Yeah, we may talk.
in in my relationship, when me and my husband first got together, I was the quiet one. I hardly talk, and don't let something bother me. I wouldn't say a thing. Then he'll come and he'll ask me, what happened? Ain't nothing happened. That's the only words what
Hmm.
I'm saying. But as we grow together, we have been married now going on 30 years. And as we grow together, I've learned that listen to me, keeping your mouth closed is not a good idea. So now I talk a lot, so we communicate a lot now because I'm not
Very true.
that shy person no more, and I thank God for that because He's the one would break me out of it. Yes. So, and I saw, I think it was
Wonderful.
Errol or one of those would say that women are expensive.
Yes, and make it expensive. Make it
It's
expensive.
make
Take
it
it from 20
expensive.
to 50. Take
Okay.
Yes.
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 Let's make it expensive. Okay. All
So,
right.
if we don't communicate, our marriage, our relationship will die the silent death.
Yes.
Silent death. No one is talking, and we only do what we have. You know, we move about the house. He doesn't speak to me. I do not speak to him. That's not healthy. And we want to encourage our listening audience. Communication is key to happiness. When you can communicate in your relationship, it speaks volume. And if there are children in the home, they are watching you. I want to
Yes.
say to moms and dads in the home, live by example. If there is a disagreement, you resolving it. Do not just leave it in the open. Do not just leave it and you snapping on her at her and she's telling you some things, and it's very offensive and the children are experiencing all of this. Do not do it. Communicate. And it's sometimes it's good to disagree, but when you disagree, especially in the front of your children, settle it. Let them see you settle it. Let them see you go back after you would have
Yeah.
maybe have a little disagreement. You go back and you either hug and kiss one another right in the
Yes.
presence of the children. This is what I'm saying right now. This is some of the things that are causing our children to be hurt and damaged and acting out. Because when mommy and
Yes.
daddy cannot resolve conflict, they likewise and they may get in trouble with their peers and stuff like that, and do not see the need to ask forgiveness. Like I saw Terrell wrote just now, that forgiveness, that's important. Let them see you resolve your conflict right there and then. And when
Mm-hmm.
you reach a point, like our guest is saying, it's good to marriage conferences. I agree
Yes.
because you learn much more. You know, you learn a lot, and what you learn now, you're able to put into practice.
And I love what she have
And
here.
listen here, I
Date
love the
young.
dating. I
What?
love the
Date
dating
to
too.
mate.
Yeah,
I love that. Yes.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Because you can it cannot be work, 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 and more work. It
No.
has to be work and play. So the play is when you
Yes.
say, "Let's go on a date. Let's go on the beach, walk, put your toes, wiggle your toes in the sand, get some ice cream, do something together," and that is what builds. Because when you go together like that to the beach, then you hold in hand. You have to talk
Yes. Mm-hmm.
unless you're kissing.
And
So
and we
just
and
go on a date. Mhm.
yes. And we have so many different things what could um distract us from from communicating to each other. We have Facebook, we have WhatsApp, we have television, we have all kind of things now. That we have right in our homes. First, you had to go out to do those things, but now you have those things right in your home. So if you're not communicating with your spouse, maybe your spouse is communicating, maybe with a movie. They are finding fulfillment in a movie, fulfillment on Facebook. So if you want something, you work at it. So Terrell, I agree with you. Date your mate. I agree totally with you. Do something together before you lose the other person.
Chaplain Sweden, I am glad you mentioned the Facebook and the social media. I was talking to a lady recently, and she said, when her husband and her, when they're together, he is on the social media. She cannot even
Hmm.
interrupt him because he's too busy playing, doing social media. Never allow social media to take the place of your spouse.
No.
And sometimes you can get because they have everything that you can imagine on Facebook and all of the
Yes.
various sites. There are a lot of things. So we need to make sure that our children, I'm reading, I'm trying to read what our guest is
Yes,
saying,
that's I'm
that
reading
we
too.
spend time,
Uh-huh.
yeah, make sure we spend time together. And Earl is responding. He said, "This is so true, Dr. McDonald. Parents need to know how to debate and argue in front of their children and sit with their children to explain how things are resolved." I agree, which help builds
Yes.
trust which helps build legacy in the relationship
Yeah.
for parents, children, and the children. I totally
Children's
agree with that.
children.
You know,
Yes,
that
totally.
comes that comes through this. Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Earl. Thank you so much. I totally agree with you on that because
Yes.
we need to raise our children who will carry the legacy to the next. So we cannot
Yeah.
just give them all negative, give them some positive as well.
Yeah.
As we are to go through
And
our last
also,
minutes.
okay.
Go ahead.
Also, what I just want to say before we close out, um, with me and my husband, normally what we'll do, we'll kiss as we leave, and whenever we come back, we'll kiss. And my son, I heard him talking to my husband one day, saying that his the lady that he was dating, that she just be quiet, and he ain't used to that. He used to seeing, that we showing affection for each other, and he wasn't happy with that, because he said, I can't be in this, because I didn't used to seeing y'all, when y'all leave, y'all kiss, when y'all come back, y'all kiss. I love this. I like this. I used to seeing y'all happy together. So it could cause, something on our children also.
Definitely. The children are affected. The children sees and listen, they see what you don't even say.
True.
Okay, we have a
Mm-hmm.
question here coming in from our guests. How our listen guests in the audience, how do you deal with an unsafe mate? Well, I'm going to say one thing, and then Chaplain speaking. Or you want to say first? You want to share on that first, Chaplain speaking?
Well, there is a scripture in the Bible which says that if you have a husband, because they say don't be unequally yoked, right? That's what's in the Bible. But it says that how do you know that you will be able to save this person? So you have to be very careful, even choosing, your mate. But if you have an unsaved mate, sometimes you want to go to church and you want them to go with you, but they can't. They don't want to go. They don't want to hear about God. They don't want to pray. They don't want to do these things. You pray for them. You pray for them. You put them before God. We might not be able
Okay,
to do it, but God can do all things. So we have to put them before God. And we have to show them that we respect them. Because some persons, they leave from home and they go to church morning, noon, night, every time, every day. But they're made a home. So what we have to do, we have to show respect to our mate also. The same way how we love God and we show respect to God, there is a place in there that God honor when you show respect to your mate also. So that's my point.
thank you, Chaplain. I want to say to our audience, they can download our apps on Google Play and the Apple Store in order to join in the conversation. We want to hear from you. So please download the app Love Bay, and you will find it on Google Play or the Apple Store. To give my response on having to deal with an unsaved spouse, I live with one. So I can share about what, you know, regardless of the fact that your spouse may not be saved, you respect your spouse. I agree with you to Earl. You're saying that dealing with an
Yeah.
unsaved mate is easy. Yes. Just do your reasonable service and allow them to watch you. Yes. And offer from time to time, but do not get upset when they do not respond. Yes. And I say yes to that. And that's exactly what I do. I respect his wish. I respect his response. I would love to see him join me sometime, and of course, he would go with me sometimes, but I will not force him. You can lead a
Yeah.
horse to water, you cannot make him drink it.
No.
Nevertheless, you can still in a happy marriage, even though one spouse is not saved. It's all about how you treat one another. If he chooses to live unsaved, you cannot change that, but you do your wifely duty, you do your part, and you have a
Yes.
beautiful relationship.
Mhm.
Now, if it goes beyond that, then you need to sit down, and that's where we bring in communication again. Talk it
Yeah.
over and see whatever is the problem, resolve it, or seek professional help. And you'll find that things work just as beautiful, because we are human being first. And like Dr. Alvin always say, from miles from Monroe, you have two imperfect people trying to work together. So you will have issues, but you have to resolve them through communication. And you know,
Yes.
it's so beautiful when you would have, and our time is up, Chaplain Natalie. But you know what I love in marriage? When you would have had a breakup, when you would have gotten angry with each other, I love when it's time to make up.
Oh,
I love
yes.
the making up because it's so
Mm,
so whether your spouse is saved or not, love your spouse, communicate with one another, and things will go just well. Be honest with each other, and everything will go well. We're now
yes.
out of words, but we sure enough out of time. And I want you to know that you're listening to the Relationship and Marriage Hour, brought to you by the Love Bay Afrobeat Music Radio Talk Show, the number one African Caribbean diaspora online radio in Canada, and it's 24/7.
Oh,
So
heaven.
tune in next Sunday. We will the same time and the same place. So have a great afternoon.
Goodbye, everybody.